inside here is the stator and the magneto. So there is quite a strong magnet inside of here, meaning it can feel a bit difficult to pull up. But there's nothing holding this case in anymore except the magnetic force. So well, it's barely moving at all. Well, looks like it is absolutely stuck. There we go. All right, that was way too hard. So now let's try to slowly nudge it out. Make sure the clutch cable is out of the way. And now I can feel the magnet here. See, it's pulling it in. If I do like this and then let go, it goes back in. So there is a magnetic force. Do not be afraid. You can just pull it out until it comes out like that. Now let's see. All right. So here is your stator. And now let's go through a bit of the structure of this crankcase cover, which may explain where leaks could possibly come from. So in here is where all the oil will be. That's your sight glasses right here. So that's where you see your oil. And as you can see, the oil will travel in here and it will end up here. Right here is a grommet that stops the oil from continuing in here. And then there is one more grommet that stops the oil, in case it gets here, from coming out of the crankcase. So getting an oil leak out here is uncommon unless you have really, really bad grommets, since you have a two-stop system from stopping the oil from coming out where these stator wires are going. And like I said, the clutch, this clutch shaft that goes in here, there is no oil in this area. As you can see, this surface here seals the oil from going anywhere from here to here. So this place should be an oil-free area. And now another important thing that you should make note of are these dowels right here. These are not stuck in there. They can come out with the crankcase when you take it out. Just shove them back in here, because these are good for aligning the gasket, the new gasket. You have one up here at the top screw, and you have one here at the bottom. This is the starter gear right here. Make sure you inspect this to make sure no teeth or anything are broken. With this, I'm just going to make sure you can see there. So you see on the back side of this gear, there is another smaller gear that is stuck to it. So they both connect to different gears. This larger gear connects here to this gear. I'm gonna check the edges of this, that's fine. And the smaller gear on the back connects to this large one here, which is required for turning the engine over when you start the bike. So when you push this in, make sure that both the large gear side and the small gear side are engaging. See, this is not going in all the way. So keep turning it until you feel it goes into the large gear as well. There, now it went all the way in, and as you can see here, this is not good at all. The gasket here has actually ended up on the inside, which is not good at all. These can actually travel through oil passages and end up, sorry for the bad views here, end up clogging the smaller oil passages deeper in the engine. So we're going to start by just cleaning up the oil with some rags or paper towels, whatever you have. Alright, and the next thing we're going to do is to take a chisel or any kind of thing you have to scrape these old gasket materials off of this case. Then we're gonna use a very light sandpaper just to make sure to roughen up these edges. But anyway, here I have a chisel. Make sure the edge is fine. I have a really fine blade for more difficult work if I need to get close. And then I have some very fine sandpaper, which I will use afterwards when I have removed the bulk of all of the gasket material. So let's begin. Take some paper and just stick it inside all of the holes that you can find. Trust me on this one, you will thank me later. The first time I opened up the crankcase, I did not do this, and there was a lot of gasket material inside the crankcase cover and in all the holes, and it was an even bigger job to use an air compressor to blow everything out. It was very tedious, to say the least. Now we can just take your chisel and just get under this old gasket material.
To stay away from me. Sometimes I'm in disbelief. I didn't know. Somehow I.
Alright, I removed the sheer bulk of it with this chisel. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this blade. I'm going to spray some carburetor cleaner. I mean, you can see it almost just dissolves this silicone as if it was nothing. I didn't actually know that would work, so I guess that's a good tip for you guys. If you have a lot of silicone gasket like this, you could try to spray a bit of carburetor cleaner. And I know this is really boring to do and it's a really tedious job, but if you feel like you're being sloppy, just take a break and do it later, because this is probably the most important step, as in to make sure these surfaces are completely clean of any old gasket material, any oil, any dirt. All of that will be negative when you apply the new gasket, and could basically lead to more oil leaks. And we don't want to open up this case, do all that work, and then close it up and then have it leaking oil and having to open it up again. So do this right the first time and then don't do it again.
Sometimes I need to remember just to breathe. Sometimes I need you to stay away from me. Sometimes I'm in disbelief, I didn't know. Somehow I need you to go. Don't forget our memories, forget our
And we have cleaned up most of the, I guess all of the gasket material really, from the surface of the crankcase cover. And now I'm just going to go over with the sandpaper to roughen up the surface a bit. And now we're gonna go ahead and get to work on the engine half of the crankcase. Now I'm gonna do the same thing where I try to fill in the spaces with a few paper towels. In an effort to prevent any of this old gasket material coming in, but also to stop oil from seeping out over the edges.
Sometimes I need to remember just to breathe. Sometimes I need you to stay away from me. Sometimes I'm in disbelief, I didn't know. Somehow I need you to go. Don't forget our memories, forget our possibilities. What you were changing me into. Just giving myself back and don't stay. Forget our memories, forget our possibilities. Take all your faithlessness with you. Just giving myself back and don't stay. Sometimes I feel like I trusted you too well. Sometimes I just feel like
Alright, looks like both of our surfaces are quite clean. I'm going to go over the crankcase cover with the carburetor cleaner on the edges, as well as the crankcase side one more time. Then I'm going to use compressed air to blow out any debris that are still left inside the crankcase cover, and then we will install the new gasket. Alright, so here we have this OEM Yamaha crankcase cover gasket, and as you can see, here's the bottom hole and here's the top hole. You can fit them to these dowel pins so that they're held in place. we have the gasket that will be going on like this. This is what it looks like. We'll start by moving this and put it over here, and then align the top dowel pin with the gasket, and then the bottom, and there we go. It is now in place. As you can see here on the side, you align it there at the top and over this clutch rod, and then here at the bottom pin. So now we're gonna put the crankcase cover back on. And that was by accident. You could see the magnet just pull the case straight in there. So what we're going to do is to lightly tap it in with a rubber mallet. And we gotta just make sure that we still have our gasket in place. There you can see it is going nicely around the edges here. If you shine some light in there, you can see whether the paper gasket is obstructing the hole or if it is clearing the hole. Yeah, that looks good. And you can go around and check each of these holes to see they're clear. Alright, now we are going to screw this case back on, and I'm going to go in the reverse order from which we took them out. And I will be applying a little bit of Loctite on the screws to make sure they don't vibrate out of place. Alright, so once we have all the bolts in place, we're going to go around and just tighten them snugly. The Loctite will hold them in place, you don't need to tighten them too hard. I don't have a torque wrench for this specification. It's 10 Newton meters, so it's very low torque. And if you use a higher torque, you may strip the screws. So I will just tighten these snugly and rely on the Loctite to hold them in place. Now you can see in the sight glass it is filled with oil. We're going to check the oil while the engine is running.